This video is brought to you by True Tales of Buried Treasure, the largest collection of old treasure magazines in the West. On our website, you can search for individual treasure stories by region, or buy our original magazines themselves. To pay us a visit, please click on the link in the description. Enjoy. Rattlesnake Bar is a tranquil bend in the North Fork of the American River, located 30 miles east of Sacramento. It's a popular spot for fishing and picnicking, mostly visited by families of employees from the nearby Aerojet General Missile Plant. However, if you look back over a century, you'll find a very different Rattlesnake Bar. In the 1850s, it was a bustling hub filled with cabins, shacks, and tents on both sides of the river. This gravelly bar attracted many fortune seekers, including two brothers, Nick and Dick Barter, who arrived with dreams of striking it rich. Nick Barter, just 21 years old, was strong, stubborn, and convinced that Rattlesnake Bar would be his path to fortune. Despite the gold becoming scarce and all the good claims being taken, the Barter brothers worked for other miners on shares, shoveling gravel and panning for gold in the cold river water. Their hard work earned them around $15 a day, barely enough to survive. While Nick remained hopeful, his elder brother soon became discouraged and left for Oregon to join their sister. In 1853, Nick found himself in trouble. A fellow miner accused him of stealing goods from a camp store. Although he was tried and found not guilty, many believed the accusation stemmed from spite. Later that year, he was accused again, this time of stealing a mule. He was quickly convicted and sentenced to 2 years in state prison. However, the real thief confessed before Nick's sentence began, and he was released. Despite his innocence, the accusations tarnished his reputation, leading Nick to leave Rattlesnake Bar temporarily. He moved to Shasta, adopting the name Dick Woods, and lived trouble-free for 3 years. In 1856, a miner from Rattlesnake Bar passed through Shasta, recognized Nick, and spread rumors of his past troubles. Facing renewed slander, Nick decided to live up to his notorious reputation. He held up a lone traveler, acquiring enough money to return to the Auburn-Folsom area. Here, he began robbing travelers, sluice boxes, and stealing horses. Initially working alone, Nick soon realized that a gang could achieve more. In the summer of 1856, he formed a gang with the help of Phillips, an ex-convict from Australia who ran the Mountaineer House on the Auburn-Folsom Road. He also recruited George Skinner, a well-known jailbird, as his right-hand man. George's brother, Cyrus Skinner, along with Bill Carter, Big Dolph Newton, and an Italian named Romero, all skilled in various illegal activities, completed the gang. As the group grew more accustomed to working together, Dick led them on a crime spree throughout Placer and Nevada counties, often hiding their loot with Phillips of Mountaineer House. By late summer, Nick felt his gang was ready for a major heist. During his time in Shasta, Nick had learned how gold shipments were sent from the northern mountains. These shipments were packed on mules as bullion since the roads were too rough for stagecoaches or wagons. Nick's plan was to ambush the mule train, disarm and tie up the guards, then transfer the bullion to other pack mules. These mules would not be easily recognizable and would follow a pre-marked escape trail. George Skinner, Carter, Newton, and Romero were to execute the robbery. Nick and Cyrus Skinner would steal the pack mules from a corral near Auburn and drive them to a rendezvous point. The outlaws would then flee with their loot. A desolate spot on the slope of Trinity Mountain was chosen for the ambush. Rocky and filled with ravines, it was ideal for a holdup and escape. George Skinner brought along a Mexican acquaintance for additional manpower. The robbery went smoothly. The outlaws surprised the mule train guards, disarmed them, and tied them to trees. They unloaded $80,000 in gold bullion and carried it to a well-hidden spot to await Nick and Cyrus with the pack mules. George stationed 2 men to watch the trail for any developments. Big Dolph Newton reported that the guards had freed themselves and left on the first day. 2 days passed with no sign of Nick and Cyrus. On the 3rd day, the Mexican became nervous, knowing the guards would return with a posse. He demanded his share of the loot and insisted on leaving. George couldn't allow this, as capture would mean the Mexican might betray them. When the Mexican pulled a knife, George shot him dead. Realizing something had happened to Nick, Cyrus, and the mules, the gang decided to walk out carrying half of the bullion. George buried the other half, planning to return for it later. They carried the remaining $40,000 to their hideout in Folsom and began searching for Nick and Cyrus. When the robbery was reported, lawmen followed a hunch and posted a posse near Mountaineer House, suspecting it was the outlaws' hangout. George Skinner, Carter, Newton, and Romero ran into the posse led by Wells Fargo agent Jack Berkeley. Newton and Carter surrendered immediately. George Skinner was shot dead by Berkeley, and Romero, badly wounded, jumped into the American River but was captured. The remaining trio was jailed in Folsom. Newton and Romero received 10-year sentences after a speedy trial. Carter revealed the location of the buried $40,000, but couldn't help with the other half, buried by the now-deceased George Skinner. For his cooperation, Carter was set free. Somewhere on the slope of Trinity Mountain, $40,000 in gold bullion still lies buried, hidden by George Skinner in the late summer of 1856. George would never know that one small detail had prevented Nick and Cyrus from delivering the pack mules they had been caught stealing the animals and jailed in Auburn. A few days later, due to a mistake, Nick and Cyrus managed to escape. Cyrus was recaptured the next day, and being an escapee from the state prison, was sent back. He escaped again 4 years later but was caught and hanged, marking the end of Cyrus Skinner. Nick Barter resumed his heisting operations with another gang in the foothills near Auburn. He was repeatedly arrested but always managed to escape. His downfall came in the form of Deputy Sheriff Boggs of Placer County. For unknown reasons, they apparently hated each other. Boggs, a relentless tracker, continually pursued Barter, thwarting his operations and making his life precarious. However, it is not known if Boggs was involved in Barter's final end. On the night of July 11, 1859, George Martin of Placer County received word that Nick Barter and another outlaw had just passed through Auburn on their way to Illinois town. Martin quickly notified the sheriff's office and with 2 deputies set off in pursuit. The pair was overtaken a short distance outside of Auburn. In the ensuing shootout, Martin was killed, and at least one of the outlaws was wounded. Both managed to escape. The following day, Dick Barter's bullet-riddled body was found in a ditch beside the road a short distance from Auburn. His companion, who had shot and killed George Martin, was never identified. To this day, no one has discovered the $40,000 in gold bullion hidden on the slope of Trinity Mountain. Only George Skinner knew its location, and he took the secret with him when he was shot at the Mountaineer House on the Auburn-Folsom Road. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to read the original article or purchase the magazine from which it was taken, please check out our website, truetalesofburiedtreasure.com.